This is the Recovery Lab.
Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together.
Hey guys, welcome back to Recovery Lab. This is episode 129, and I'm Brynn Knox.
I'm David Sugg.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
We are the Recovery Lab.
Who we got today?
JD Huddleston from Bentonville, Arkansas. JD, I'm super pumped to have you on today. How I met JD, Stephen Bryant, a local entrepreneur investor, is part of one of your masterminds. Masterminds, for all your listeners, are places where people of like mind come together, share ideas to explore new tactics or strategies to advance whatever it is they're trying to do. And in Rise Up Kings, I think y'all are an entrepreneur-based club, faith-based, Christian-based. They're trying to support both your faith and your business growth. Is that kind of how Stephen Bryant met you and introduced you to us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We were at an event together, and he got to hear a part of my story, and he came up and was like, "Bro, I'd love to have you on this podcast," and told me a little bit about the group and what it represents. And I'm like, man, the more people that can hear the story, the more people that can potentially experience the freedom that comes from it. That's
right, man. That's right. Having a story to share about coming from, ground zero to be able to have a family and run a business and be able to do good things is what we're all about. So we're super pumped to hear what you got to say.
Me too.
I want to hear how, because I'm not familiar with your story, so I want to hear where it all started.
With where, as far as the success coming out of it, or just kind of like growing up?
I want to talk about the other stuff before the success. What was growing up like? When did addiction start? What did that look like?
Yeah, so I was born in Oklahoma City. I joke with everyone that I'm 40th generation poverty and that I was wanting to break that chain. So I was born in Oklahoma City. We moved at a very young age here to Arkansas, and I grew up in trailer parks and had a single mom that just, she really grinded hard to raise me, my little brother and my big sister, and pretty much did our whole lives on our own. I do remember, so the very first memory I had growing up was when my biological father was around, and there was a lot of violence and yelling in the homes. He was an alcoholic and a methamphetamine addict. And my first memory was of him grabbing my mother and pushing her down into a rocking chair, and the rocking chair flipped over, and she actually went through a sliding glass door. And so like at 4 years old, that very much shaped my reality for what the family structure looked like. And so there wasn't really much trust going on in the home as I was growing up, because I always thought that the chaos was just one argument away, and that as a child, I couldn't escape it. So when you fast forward to 12 and 13 years old, I've just got like this little chip on my shoulder. Nobody could really tell me anything. And I acted out. I was always looking for attention. I wanted to be the center of any circle that I was involved in, and was in a little skateboarding clique. And so, a lot of the skateboarders and stuff smoke pot and things like that. And I can remember the very first time that I smoked weed was with some older guys that I was wanting to impress. I just wanted to fit in with this group that thought I was cool. And so I smoked my first joint, and that really just opened up the doorway to all the next best highs. I just started chasing that high. And so from 13 on, I started smoking weed. And it's really crazy because also during that time was when I found the church. So it's like I was torn between these two different masters, where my very first experience with church was because they were having a pizza party, and I was outside in the parking lot ramping dirt hills on a bike, and I was just hungry. And I was with this Hispanic guy, and I was like, "Man, you want to go get some pizza? Like, that youth group is having pizza. We can go get some for free."
Yeah.
And so we come up in this youth group, shirt off, covered in sweat and dirt. And
love you. Yeah, come on in.
have some pizza for free, and I kind of felt guilty about it. And when they asked me if I would come back, I'm like, yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah.
And I grew up right behind the church, so I started coming to this youth group, and the best memories of my life or of my childhood growing up were for sure surrounded by that church.
Wow.
So I immediately just started my faith journey trying to straddle the fence. Like, oh, the grass is green over here sometimes, and so we'll go play around with my skateboarding buddies. Oh, there's a mission trip over here with the church. The grass is green here too. So I'm gonna go play with these buddies. And eventually I fed the bad one way more, which is about 16 was the first time I had started doing pills and experimenting with hard drugs. By the time I was 18, I was shooting methamphetamine, had already been arrested once and into 2 rehabs. It was just on this path of total destruction. My mother wouldn't talk to me anymore. My sister and my nieces and nephews, they wanted nothing to do with me. I got a girl pregnant when I was 18. She has my son, and he was 9 months old the first time I got arrested, and then he was 2 years old whenever I got arrested and sent to the penitentiary. So really from 0 until 10, we had no relationship, because when he was 2 years old and I got sentenced to the Arkansas prison systems, I got a 32-year prison sentence, and I ended up doing 8.5 years of that. So I was gone for most of his childhood, because he's 20 now.
That's a stretch, dude. That's brutal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're lucky to be able to even come out and have a conversation after that. Cause I know me too, my time in the penitentiary, it's nothing to, I mean, it's brutal. So congrats for getting out and just being able to turn it around, because I mean, the survival / recidivism rate is not good. Most people go back in the first couple of years.
When you were talking about going, like you said, before 18, like you'd been to treatment twice and all of that, what were those, just like 30-day treatment centers? Like, what did that experience look like? Did you hear anything during that time that sort of like planted a seed?
So I learned a lot of the verbiage that definitely, the people, places, and things, and all these deals. But at that time, I just wasn't ready. I was forced to go get treatment, but I wasn't looking for treatment. I was looking to not be in trouble.
Yeah.
And to give it all up, I was like, man, just life seems boring to go do this other life, and just the straight and narrow. It's like, I want to veer off course every now and again. And so I didn't, when I went to treatment, I was never all in. Like I knew when I would leave, it's like, man, I can't wait to go see some of my buddies again. I can't wait to go party. I can't wait to go float the Elk River and go do all of these things that is 100% my path of destruction. And I did pick up some good tools, just about like learning what actual surrender means. Because growing up, I was like, man, that's weak people surrender. Like, I'm never going to do that. But then when you just surrender to Christ, it's a totally different atmosphere. It's not giving up because of weakness. It's taking control of my power and my authority, but submitting that to a higher authority, because he has my best interest in mind.
How do you get from, the moment that you're sent to the penitentiary, and how do you get from there to the surrender that you just described?
So I would love that if my first day in, it was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I have to do a 180-degree turn and just change my life around, because when I get out, I want to be this upstanding member of society. Like that'd be a great story, but that's not what happened. So when I got sentenced, in my heart, I knew I wanted to be home. I knew I wanted to be a dad and all these things. And so I had fasted in jail. I found the jailhouse religion, and was like doing all these things guys were telling me to do. And then I read the verse about the Lord will grant you the desires of your heart. So my heart wanted me to be home. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be successful, all these things, be respected. And when I fasted and still got sentenced, it caused more resentment for me to God. Because I was like, man, your Bible says, like, your scripture proclaims that I will have the desires of my heart if I do these things, and you're sending me to prison. So I was still in this victim mentality that the only reason I'm going to prison is because someone told on me, because God doesn't love me enough, and because the judge sent me there. So that was all the evidence I had, where it was just like, screw authority. I don't want anything to do with it. So for my first 5 years in prison, just like the previous 21 years of my life, I did all the things that they tell you not to. I got involved in the gangs. I continued doing drugs. I worked. I wanted to be the center of everything. So I worked my way up into being the president of the New Aryan Empire, which is a chapter of the Aryan Brotherhood, while I was in prison. I ran the yard. I ran my units. And just did all of these things that nobody is ever supposed to do in their life. And then I was sitting at Varner Supermax at year 5. I was on 24-hour administrative segregation for a total of 9 months. So I didn't come out into general population for a 9-month period. And I've always been able to control my emotions pretty good. It's like a safety mechanism I learned growing up, that if I have the control, it's a safe deal. So like vulnerability wasn't a thing. But I was laying on my concrete bed, and I remember waking up and just feeling like this rage in my chest. Guys that fight professionally and stuff like that, like, they know what you're talking about when your chest itches and like your gums itch and you get these little prickly feelings over your body. It's like I had that, like this adrenaline rush when I woke up, and I was like, man, that's weird. Like, why am I feeling this right now? I kind of tried to brush it off for a second, and I started pacing back and forth in my cell. And I remember looking at the stainless steel mirror, and I locked eyes for the first time with the man in the mirror, like really seeing who I had become through just a pattern of just garbage decisions and following the wrong thing. And when I locked eyes for the first time in my life, I knew I hated the person in the mirror and that I did not want to be anything that person represented.
Mm-hmm. I know that feeling.
Screamed as loud as I could in the cell block. And I was just like, I effing hate you. And I reached back and I punched the stainless steel mirror, which gives absolutely none. And I shattered my hand and just sat there and I sobbed. I cried so hard in that cell, just thinking about all the hurt and the pains I had caused. Mm-hmm. And here I am at 26 years old, this child at heart that had all these dreams and aspirations to go to the Air Force and be an aerospace engineer and like do all these things. But I'm a gang leader sitting in a Supermax penitentiary in Arkansas that's class 4, living my life like I'm going to die in prison. And I was just like, man, I cannot be this person. And that's when I finally like picked up the word and read it for what it actually says, that even as a child of God, he will still discipline me because he loves me. I still have accountability for everything I do, regardless of my relationship with him. And there's this gift of salvation and freedom from all of these demons that I've allowed to control in my life. And so it was like in that moment, I knew things needed to change. I did a moral inventory of just my life in general, on things that I agreed with that would serve me moving forward and things I needed to get rid of. And it was in that cell block was when I quit using drugs for the first time in my entire life from when I'd started.
Amen. Heck yeah. That's awesome. That is a moving story. I'm curious as to what the next 3 years were like whenever you were you're still in the system, but wanting to do right. Cause I mean, that was what was most difficult for me. I mean, I never got sober in my time in the penitentiary. I mean, 5 years total, and it was not, I didn't do any of it sober. I can't imagine what that was like. What did those 3 years of recovery look like for you?
So it was like 2 months later, I got released from the cell block. So I kind of had this plan on what I thought my life was going to look like. And my biggest caveat was I'm still in the Aryan Brotherhood, and just being in that and being in a position of power, like there are still expectations of me.
Yeah, there were.
I'm in this unit. Like you don't just come out and like, hey, I'm done with all you guys. Like I'm stepping out of this thing. So my next 3 years in that sense, I very much so had to tread on eggshells, but I created this energy through a lot of prayer and planning and just writing things down on like, how can I safely still get through this thing while still growing closer to the Lord and all of these deals. So the first thing I did personally was started using yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I never had respect for any authority up until this point. I hated all of them. And all the people that I conversated with in my circles, I required it of them too. I'm like, man, we're going to be better people. So I didn't even know it, but I was entering into mentorship with all these young men and talking guys, or doing my best to talk guys out of drug addiction and all these different things that I knew wouldn't serve us when we got home, because most of these guys do get a second opportunity at going home. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was also going to get a second opportunity. So I programmed up. I did vocational school. I did substance abuse treatment program. I did a reentry program, did anger management. I decided I wanted to do all these programs instead of someone forcing me into it. And so the guys, like, when I looked back at it, I thought that it just kind of happened on its own, but I see so many miracles in it. Like these guys started respecting me because I quit standing for like the core belief of what the Aryan Brotherhood represents. Like you can't talk to Black people. You can't eat with them. You don't hang out with the Mexicans unless it's a business transaction. And upon me being released, like we all like coexisted, and you get it. Like when you're in prison, it's a totally different world. It's a totally different social stratosphere that you're in. And when I left my unit, like we all coexisted. We ate together. We went to church together. Like there was this crazy thing happening before I left. And I knew when I got out, I was like, I'm never coming back to this place. It's the most stressful thing I've ever been to in my life, only to find myself now doing prison ministry and getting to go back to these same units where I used to encourage hatred. And now I get to go in there, the same guy. You know, I'm still the same human being with a totally different heart and a different mindset. And I get to go in and talk to the inmates and tell them what life can look like if you just surrender.
Wow. What are the younger brothers, the guys that you might bump into that are now still, you know, screaming AB when you come in and you tell them your story? Are they eye rolling, or are they over there shaving their shanks down like, let's get this dude? Because you know, I mean the Aryan Brotherhood here in Mississippi is still very, very strong and very, you know, once you're in, it's a wrap. There is no out. And now people do, they just kind of vanish, but we don't really see it being vocalized or kind of in public. So what's kind of I'm curious personally, what's the feedback there?
So the first unit I went in, it took me 4 years to get approved to go back into a unit. And I just told God, I'm like, man, if you open the door, I'll walk through it, but there's no way they're ever going to approve me to come back into this prison system after all the chaos I had done when I was there. And so the first unit I was in, I remember walking into the unit, and the smell was the first thing that hit me. It just hit me in the face like a box of rocks. And I was like, man, I am back. And I swore I would never be here. And here I sit. And it was the second cell block I went into. There's 3 white dudes sitting off in the back corner. They're talking. As soon as we walk in, I go in with the Christian Motorcycle Association. I'm just conversating with some guys in the open area room where the TVs and stuff are at. And then I hear one of them, he's like, hey, Huddleston.
Yep.
And I looked up and I was like, there's only one group of people that call other people by their last name. And that's other convicts. And so I looked up and they're like, come back here, Wood. And they're in the corner, and you always go to the corner to fight.
Yep.
And there was a part of me that wanted to say, no, y'all come here. But the Holy Spirit just like prompted my legs to just start walking. So I was chest up, head chin high, walked to the back of the barracks where there's no cameras, any of that stuff. And 2 out of 3 of the guys, they're both patched up. They don't have their shirts on or anything. They got their swastikas on their side and everything. And they're like, bro, we wanted to shake your hand one time because we've heard a lot about what you're doing out there right now. And so I could shake hands and we engage in this conversation. And one of these kids is like 23 years old. He got put down when he was 21. He's on a 6-year prison sentence and he's already done half of it. He should have only done a year and went home. But because he's repping with the bros, he's losing time. And the guy was like, man, this guy wants to talk to you about what it looked like for you to get out of the Aryan Brotherhood. Do you think you can write him and have this conversation? I'm like, I can't legally write any of you guys in here. I'm still on parole, all these things. I'm like, but I can talk right now. So I got to spend 45 minutes with this 23-year-old kid and tell him what life looks like outside of the Aryan Brotherhood and tell him how I was able to remove myself from the entire organization with no bloodshed, no guys coming to my house, even though those threats did exist. For 2 or 3 years when I first got out, I would have guys hit me up on social media and stuff talking about wanting to come cover my patch up and all these things. And it's just like, yeah, that's not happening. You guys are not coming to just hold me down and cut things off my body. They ended up having a special session and retired my number out, which was kind of cool. That also hardly ever happens, especially with my age. So they retired me out, whatever they want to call it. I'm just like, whatever it takes for you guys to feel good about not crash dummying someone to come to my house. And now I get to go back to the prisons, and I've walked 3 guys out of the Aryan Brotherhood since starting prison ministry, and I'll continue to serve in that capacity until the prisons close the doors on me.
That's brave, Holmes. That's brave. Gotta tell you. Yeah. Because I know being in the penitentiaries, I mean, you gotta find your crowd. You gotta find you don't have to, but it being in there alone, solo, not knowing what's going on, everybody else is inked up, everybody else is screaming something. I mean, the Latin Kings, everybody's in some sort of a gang. You just have some kind of crew, and then just to be like, have that be everything for such a long time. Because I get it. You're in there working out with them, you're eating, you're sharing, you're laughing. I mean, it's your family in there. It's your life or death. It's your lifeline. And then to be, all right, I've got to do something different. I can't imagine being different in the environment. Getting out, I totally understand it because, man, we're done with it. Like you said, man, I don't want anything to do with that stuff. But being in there and having the fortitude and the spiritual strength and kind of having the awakening happen right then, be able to walk that line is like, my hat's off to you, dude. That's just like, that's amazing. But I am curious about like the work that you're doing now. So you say you're going into the penitentiary. You're carrying what you carrying. Is it 12-step meetings? Is it church stuff? What's the message you're carrying? How much are you engaging? What sort of stuff are I mean, to carry, you say like either to unpatch people or to get people out of gangs. I mean, that's like that in itself could be its own, organizational nonprofit whole thing, like helping people get tattoos removed, getting people restructured and giving jobs and the anger management, that kind of stuff. Like, are you doing just that type of work, or are you doing a bunch of different stuff? Or tell me a little bit about what your work in the system looks like.
So my primary capacity that I serve in is with the Christian Motorcycle Association, and they're a nationwide organization of bikers. And when I was in, I became really good friends with those people. Like I seen their heart with coming to serve convicts and just love on them. Not because they don't have anything else to do with their life. Like they've got families and jobs, careers, all these things. They've got their own problems, but their ministry is to just come love on other men and then have these really cool church services. You get to go out in the yard and, touch their motorcycles and watch them play games and stuff. So that's where the relationship started. And they invited me to come back, and they were the ones I was like, man, if y'all can get it approved, I'll go, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
So I've went to like probably 22, 23 different times with the Christian Motorcycle Association. And they're kind of like my safe covering, to go in with them. They're kind of taking on some of that negative baggage that precedes me because of my institutional history, and they bring me in. So there's no real, like, things aren't geared towards recovery or getting out of gangs, any of that. Like, we're just showing the men love. Like, a lot of these people haven't hugged a free world person in years. And I might be that first vessel that comes and just shakes their hand and introduces myself and tell them I love them. And like, that's it. Yeah. And then you just let the conversation kind of organically come about on itself, where I've talked about business leadership with some of the men, the gang stuff, of course, the drugs, because I can see someone that's in active addiction from a mile away. Like, there's no hiding it, any of that from me. So I immediately try to like dig into that a little bit about why they're doing the things that they're doing. And so I don't really go into any unit with a motive. I just go in there knowing that coming out, I'm going to be like level 10 excited again, because I'm going to have these awesome conversations, just because the Lord shows up every single time. I don't really have to do anything but put my feet in the door. Yeah. And he orchestrates the rest, the conversations that need to happen. I always run into people that I've served with, like done time with. And so like my story doesn't just land as a story because these guys know this dude used to be in the same seat that I'm in right now. For sure, he gets it. And so that they listen to me a little bit different than what some of the other volunteers and stuff that come in. So it's really just whatever happens when I'm there. But I love having the addiction talks and the hate versus love conversation with other men about why we're doing what we're doing is not serving us when we're in this prison system, because one day most of you will get out, and 99% of that crap is just crap and needs to stay there.
Sure is. Golly.
I can imagine, how powerful those conversations are that you're having with the guys. I have like a random question. I can only assume that you really say like a special prayer before you walk in those doors every time, that, for the guidance to have these conversations. What's like an example of that prayer for people out there who want to bring God into situations with them, but don't necessarily know the words to say?
So for me, it's as simple as, so in 2 Corinthians, the Bible says, praise be to the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our time of struggle so that we can comfort others with the comfort that we were once given. And that put into perspective that all of the crap that I've went through in life, the whole like take your mess and make it your message, what the enemy meant for evil, the Lord can use for good. Like, it put all of it into perspective that every single bad decision I've ever made, I can shine light on it, bring it into this place and turn people away from it. Just using my story. I don't need to know a bunch of scriptures, any of these things. So all I pray for is, God, when I walk into these cell blocks and into these rooms, let the peace that you have given me come out of me to these other men so that they can see Christ through me and Christ in me, period. There's no like ultimate deliverance. I'm not looking for a revival. It's just like, let my story touch another man's heart in the same way you have touched mine. If I can be that vessel to one person out of the 1,800 people in this unit for them to find Christ, none of it's wasted time for me. And I'm in the business of planting seeds. God's in the business of growing trees. So I go in there and I plant as many seeds as I can because I know the conversations are coming. So I just pray for open hearts, open minds, and a willing spirit to receive the information that we bring in.
I love that. Danny and David know I love talking about this kind of stuff because it's such a big part of my life. So it's so cool to hear how God is working through you for these other men. And Is there anything that happens like while you're there? Are there any like what's the biggest struggle when you do get in there? Like whether it's like a topic of conversation or, one of the hesitancies of the guys of why they're too scared to change. Like what are some of the struggles when you do this stuff?
On a personal level, one thing that I have to leave out or do my best to leave is like my judgment and condemnation. It doesn't matter what an individual is there for. Like if the guy's there for rape, or if it's for murder, or if it's for selling drugs or any of that thing, like none of us are worthy of the gift of salvation. And I deserve nothing different than any of these guys have gotten. And so I have to like separate my mind from their charges or any of that stuff. So I don't have the judgment coming in, and I can love the child molester the same as the guy that got caught with a couple of pills in his pocket and not have any of that. On a broader level of just the unit and the prison systems in general is there's a joke that the prisons is like the weather. It's always changing. And so like you have this agenda and this schedule that you think you're going to be on, and you're totally at the mercies of the correctional officers and how they move people around. And so there's always, we're pretty much late for everything. And we end up having to give away some of our time just because the staff really like we're a stressor when we come in there, because now the staff has to protect all of these free world people as they come in. And so just dealing with that stress and that part of the environment, knowing that nothing is going to go as planned when we show up. And I have to detach myself from that too, because it's like, don't get mad. Like you're just here. I'm here from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. And whatever happens in between that deal, I have zero control over it. I can just be here and be present. And so I have to keep my emotions in check so that they don't take control.
What's life like now? You get out, you got your head screwed on straight now, but I know that probably coming out of the system, it probably took a little while to kind of get your traction going. I know it took me about 2 years of, working, keeping my head down, not dating, going to a lot of meetings, going to church, listening to Christian radio. Like, I mean, I had my head down. Like, I didn't talk to anybody. And then probably around 3 or 4, I kind of started getting the entrepreneurial itch. Just when I started buying houses and doing some other stuff. But it took me a while. And even that was super slow because I had some of my past popping up, whether it was credit score or criminal history or whatever. It wasn't that perfect. I'm curious, how did you go from walking out of the gates, knowing you wanted to be different? In fact, you were a lot different from the work you'd put in there. But to fast forward now to where you are, where you're running $1 million business, you're mentoring people, you're part of mentorships and coaching programs and doing some really cool stuff. I know that in and of itself is a huge, a lot of growth. So I want to hear about how you've done that.
So year 1 was absolutely horrible. I didn't know how long I would stay free. I mean, I just thought that everything was coming against me. It was such a hard uphill battle. I actually paroled out to a girl. You said you didn't date. I went the other way, and I had like my prison fling, who was actually an ex-girlfriend from when I was a teenager. She was the only person for my last 3 years while I was doing all the right things that wrote me letters. So like she was my out for parole and all of these things. So I parole out to her knowing she's like diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, to about the most toxic relationship you could get.
Yeah.
And that lasted for about 7 weeks, where I actually was homeless for a couple of days. Because I knew it's like I can either be homeless or I will make my bed in prison again. Yep. But I cannot go back home to her. So I called my parole officer and just told him straight up what was going on. I was like, things are getting physical. I've never hit a woman in my life, but this girl just like 7-pieced me in the back of the head wearing rings because I'm trying to leave the home. And so he actually let me be homeless for a couple of days and told me I could
what a guy,
my mom's address. And and I'm on parole till 2038. Have a very good relationship with my parole officer now. But at the time, he's like, "Man, I see that you're trying, so just keep trying." So I tell guys like 10,000 no's will lead to a yes. I found out trying to get housing, nobody will rent to a felon. God shows up. I meet this little Indian dude that's Hindu and all the things. He's got a little trailer on some land. Boom, I get this trailer and some land. Live here for 4 years. Got custody of my oldest boy. He was actually in DHS when I came home. He was in foster care.
Oh man.
And was able to get custody of him a few short months later, which is a miracle in itself. And so it's like, now it's me, my dog, and my kid living on some land. Like, man, life cannot get any better than this.
Yeah.
So then I had the good idea of putting myself into college, which I thought prison would be the most stressful thing I'd ever done in my life. And college for sure trumped all of prison. Trying to work full time, go to traditional school, and be a dad at the same time. That was hands down the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. But I graduated with 3.8 GPA, got my construction management degree, and knew for sure one day I will own a business. Got a job with an awesome contractor here. It's Crossland Heavy Contractors, and I worked for them for 4 years as a concrete superintendent. And they were just paving the way for me to be an entrepreneur. I'm learning the ins and the outs of the business, what things cost, and all these different deals, how to manage personnel, and eventually quit. And through all of this, I actually married my son's mom, my oldest boy's mom, which was definitely not Holy Spirit led. That just ended in absolute chaos. We ended up getting divorced. So I went through, it was like everything wasn't sunshine and roses. I got out of prison and, we're just going to be a success story.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pain and struggle when I would try to take control of things, and I tried to make life fit my world instead of, me fit into the story that God has for my life.
Yeah.
And so, went through a divorce, and, while I was starting my business, and now we're here. We're at 5 years in as a business owner, and we employ 10 people right now. We're going to do like $2.4 million this year. And I'm hoping to scale this company to operate without me so that I can serve in my capacity, like with Rise Up Kings, my prison ministry. I want to build some recovery houses for guys that are wanting to actually break the bonds of addiction. Not just cope with it, but actually experience what freedom from the life of drug addiction looks like. Because that's my only one adage that I don't agree with 12-step programs. And I've been to hundreds of meetings with AA, NA. I've done Celebrate Recovery, all these different things. And I do not, accept the once an addict, always an addict mentality. I believe Christ can free us from anything, including addiction entirely. And so that's one of the things that if someone introduces me or introduces themselves to me, and they're like, "Hey, my name's John and I'm an addict," I'm like, don't ever say that to me again. You are not the product of your choices. You can dictate what your future looks like, and you can be all of those things. You don't have to be what you did. You can be who you're meant to become. And so I very much agree that we can speak life or we can speak death, and to come in agreement with a label that society tries to put on people just because they made some bad decisions is insane to me.
Well, we know we live in the age of miracles, man, and we've seen them happen, and we've seen people change. I mean, because if you'd taken, there's some mug shots of me, man, where you just be like, there's like two cops holding me up, one eye swole shut and needle hanging. I mean, just brutal, and just like it doesn't look like my Instagram at all today. Yeah, no miracles do exist. I appreciate your zeal for the deal, man. Like, you got it. You're on fire for it. I'm really curious. So, like, those first 5 years, 6 years, I mean, that was some dramatic stuff. Having your boy come back, you hadn't seen him in 10, you hadn't been part of his life. Now you're living in a trailer. Although you describe it now as it feels like heaven, I know it was probably very, very stressful. Then having your girl attack, you being homeless. How did you stay sober during these times? Because I know that, like, my first couple of years, I was so serious about staying sober. However, I just didn't have the tools for it. I just didn't know what to do, and so I found things like getting involved into a church or going to a lot of meetings or doing a lot of service work. But I mean, I had to replace these cravings with something. They didn't just go away on their own. I had to do a whole bunch of different stuff. So I'm curious, what was your recovery program? You mentioned a bunch of meetings, hundreds of meetings, Celebrate, 12-step stuff. What was your recovery program like those first 5 years?
So Celebrate Recovery I really liked because they didn't like generalize the higher power thing.
Mhm.
And, you know, like the 12-step program, I've had guys tell it like, it doesn't matter what your higher power is, you just need to have something.
Coffee pot,
Blah,
baby.
blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, y'all are crazy. That's the problem I had growing up was I made other things my higher power and at 100% failure rate. And so like the CR where it's like, it's God, it's this dude, this human being, what was God incarnate, Jesus Christ, and having this relationship. And so when I came home, immediately I was in church. The very first Sunday I'm going to church, and it's like, you know, I want the life these people have. And I've been free for 3 days. So it's for sure not going to happen tomorrow, but I can make steps to find it. So I found a guy, Metcalf. He was like my financial advisor for all things Jesus related. He was the one that talked me into tithing for my first time. He helped me build out a balanced budget based off of the money that I make now, minus 10%, because we tithe every time, no matter what. And then I had like my family guy, Stuart Bell. He was my lead pastor. He took me out for lunch every single Wednesday. We'd go to Subway and have a sandwich, and he'd just check in on life. So my biggest strategy with being out those first couple of years was having people that I could call at 11:30 at night when I'm struggling with these stupid thoughts of just saying, screw it, none of this is worth it anyways. I'll just go back to prison, because I have verbally said that before. But I could call these guys and be like, dude, I just need to talk. And they would come to me every time. It didn't matter who I called. Any one of them would come to me in a moment's notice, and we'd have coffee at Starbucks late at night. They'd take me out just driving around and talk to me. And so I had these dudes that also had my best interest at heart. And they were in a place in life that I wanted to get to. And so I know that they didn't accidentally get to where they are in life. There's a pathway to success, regardless of what that looks like. So I took on these mentors of mine that really shaped the framework for what my future could look like.
Heck yeah.
But I had to, number one, trust them wholly and never lie. Didn't matter what I was going through. Here's how I feel. These are the thoughts that I'm having. This is what I want to do. I was always an open book, because I know these guys actually loved me. And it was the first time that I had another man in my life where I knew that like we had this bond that couldn't be broken because I make a bad decision. It's like, that's when they want to step in.
Yeah.
And so just, man, the people and having solid guys in my corner when I felt like God wasn't there anymore, or the system was trying to come against me, just having other people to bring me back to ground zero and be like, you need to slow down. And especially going through my divorce, when I went through that was the first time I've ever experienced like polarizing anxiety that I hear people talk about. And that really rocked my world.
Tell me, what do you mean by polarizing anxiety?
Like fear for no reason, just laying in bed at night and just be scared to death of what's to come. And I knew that it was the enemy trying to come against me, because I looked at it as I'm no different than my dad. I have split this family up. My choices have broken all of these things around me, and it's going to continue falling apart and can never be fixed again. So I went right back into victim mentality mindset, because the dream didn't work out with the white picket fence and the little kids running around and all this stuff. And I would just lay there at night with like my heart racing. I couldn't get it under control with breathing. I would try to pray and I couldn't get that under control and actually have this conversation with God, but I could pick up the phone and talk to somebody and vent. And even if I needed to cuss and just scream and throw my phone, they would listen to me and they would come to my house and talk to me, or we could go out for lunch and I could just cry and vent about how inadequate as a man I felt. And just having that outlet, or regardless if it's through prayer or physical communication with another human being, stuff like that, I was able to release some of that energy off of me and like stay the course. Like this is still the plan for life. I just got punched in the face one time and I can take a lick and I'm still alive. You know, it's 100% survival rate through all of the crap I've been through. This isn't the worst that it can possibly be. And so I just had to keep my laser-like focus for where I wanted to go in life.
Yeah.
I love that you knew, sorry, that you needed other people. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I was wanting to get sober, like I would really focus on like the really toxic boyfriend and he's going to help me get through this. Or, you know, when I did get sober, like it was like me against the world type of mentality. But it's like, you kind of just always knew like, hey, if I'm going to do this, like I need people. And it took me a while to realize, I mean, I did realize it. And that's, you know, a huge reason why I'm still sober today. But I just think that's such good advice for everyone else. And it's incredible that sort of you've always known that, you know?
A big part of it was my mom not writing me when my last 5 years in prison. So she showed up to one of my visitations and I was coming down off of meth and I had only slept for like 5 hours after a 3-day bender. And I looked like I was dying. And so I did some cocaine before going to visitation. And my mom is like, she should have been CIA because she can see through everybody's crap. And the moment I came out there, she's like, I am so disgusted with you right now. And I'm like, what's up, Mom? Like, man, we're having a visit. We're about to eat some pizza and hang out. And she's like, I can't believe you would come out here and visit me high. And like, to me, I looked great after I got my little pick me up. And she told me, she was like, I will never bring your son to this place again. And I'm not going to write you anymore.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, my mom's told me she was going to kill me before. Like, this is definitely not the end. She never wrote me again. And she never brought my son again. And when I came home, my son thought somebody else was his dad. And so it was like, some people have a rock bottom. And I went like through my rock bottom. Like I never thought life could get that bad. So I legitimately had nobody, period. And so for 5 years, not having anybody hits a little bit different than being like in and out of jail and, you know, coming back, you still got your buddies and stuff like that. Like I was locked away, confined to a box with absolutely nobody to talk to. And so I knew for sure when I came home, I needed those people, the people that my best memories in life as a child, growing up in church and going on the ski trips and Disciple Now and all these different things where I could like look at that 14 and 15-year-old boy and seeing him smile and be like, that's a genuine smile. That kid had joy and he can still have joy at 30 years old and at 40 years old. And when I get 50, I can still have that, but I need these people.
Tell us about Rise Up Kings. How I even got to know you. Stephen Bryant met you at one of these events. Tell us a little bit about what that is, what its goal is, and how it's changed your life.
Man, had just came through the divorce and like things were finalized and I knew that I was going to be able to recover from the wounds. And I was on Facebook And I didn't even know that I had liked a video a year prior, but a Rise Up Kings video came up. I watched it and I was like, man, I would love to do this. And I went ahead and I filled out the little form that they have. And like 30 minutes later, a coach calls me.
Yeah.
And he has this cool conversation with me. And I'm like, man, this is crazy how fast this went. And so I'm having the conversation with this guy. Just lost a lot of money through the divorce, didn't really have money to give away. And so I went ahead and signed up anyways, charged it to a credit card. I was just like, whatever. I'm already like been punched in the face 10,000 times. Divorce process. Another few grand is not going to matter in the scheme of things. Like, we'll just charge it and see what happens. And so I set the date and I set back, and then my memories came up on my phone. And I looked at the memory, and it was exactly 365 days prior. I had liked my first Rise Up Kings video.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, huh. I don't like, God orchestrates things like that. And I was like, I know for sure I'm going to where I'm supposed to go. So I went to my first event. Thought I was going to like this military combat style stuff for Jesus, and it totally was not that. These guys rocked my world and showed me the value in attaching your identity into things that are rooted in good, not in evil. And so at this time, the first thing I said to one of the coaches was like, I'm JD and I'm a narcissist, and the guy jumped in my face and he was like, don't you ever say that in my presence ever again. And I was like, whoa. No one's ever like talked to me like that. Like, everyone tells me I'm a narcissist and don't care and all this stuff. And so immediately I was like, there's something way deeper in this thing. And man, I found a totally different brotherhood than what I had found in the Aryan Brotherhood. Like, those guys were ride or die too. And like, we'll go headstrong into some bull crap. But it's like, I didn't know that this caliber of manhood existed like on the entire planet, because I've never really seen good fathers. I've just never been a part of anything like this. And so in the Rise Up Kings deal, I was like, man, I found my brothers. And these are my actual brothers in Christ that will fly cross country if need be to support another man. And so I ingrained myself into this community, because just like with Stuart Bell and Bob Metcalf and all these other guys that helped shape the beginning of my future with staying clean and just being financially free and all these different things, I was like, these guys are the next level. Like, some of them have recovery houses and have been to prison, and they're doing all these things and they're successful. So I ingrained myself in the community, and I go back and I serve at least 3 to 4 events every single year. I mentor 3 or 4 guys at a time, and we do like 90-day sprints with mentorship. And I just absolutely love the whole mentality behind Rise Up Kings and being a 4-pillar man, where we take care of our pillars that hold up our kingdom that God's blessed us with, and that's faith, family, fitness, and finance, in that order. That if your faith is in check, your family life is going good, and you're checking in, you're spending quality time with your spouse and your children, and then your health is good, like, the financial decisions will automatically be easier, and those things will kind of come. It doesn't mean it's going to be stress-free, but because the other 3 most important pillars of my kingdom are stable, this other one is very, very easy to deal with in the scheme of things. And so my wife now, because I am remarried, we're heavily ingrained in the community. She's about to start a women's coaching business. And then we're wanting to build recovery centers for men and just really reach out to our community in the same way that this program's touched our lives.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I know so many times in my recovery, I've just always had this idea of like, once I get my money right, then I'm going to focus on getting back into my faith stuff. I'm going to start taking care of my body. But like, finances even in recovery, even in sobriety, even in like wide open, doing everything as best as I think I can, I always get my finances right, and then I'll have time for this other stuff. And it just doesn't happen that way. The spiritual's got to come first. And if I can just let go of that stuff for a minute and just focus on my relationship with my higher power, my relationship with people around me, my family, and doing good stuff, the other things tend to diminish. It's not even they get solved. It's just that thing that I needed so badly, just the desire for it either goes away or the problem just resolves itself. It just kind of just stops. So kudos to you for having that outline where it's just that obvious. Those 4 pillars. I love that. I really do. And it's been amazing having you come on. You got a powerful story. And I think that I'd love to stay in touch and help you any way you could. You know, my wife and I, we run a pretty large recovery housing business. We love it. We're real estate entrepreneurs by trade, but we love doing this stuff as well. I'd love to help you any way we could. And just come back on. Also give us an update of what your story's like a year from now, because I can already tell the kind of guy you are and the kind of debt that you're paying down right now. You're going to stay involved. You're going to keep growing. I'm super excited to see where JD Huddleston is another 365 from now. Be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, we're only growing. That's it.
Yeah.
And just take the licks as they happen. But yeah, we're so geared behind just goal setting and sticking to the path. Like if this serves the purpose, we don't steer off the path. And we do weekly check-ins and stuff. Me and my wife do with our goals and things that we have set for our family, for each other, just individually. But man, we're so focused on what God's got in store for us and how much impact we can have for the kingdom. It's just one's put in front of the other.
That's so awesome, man. Yeah, and if I can come up and give you a little, maybe some help setting up some houses or something, I come shred some trails up in Bentonville, man. You're living like the Disney World of mountain bike riding. I'd love
I will
to
show you the 12-foot drops.
Yes. That'd be so awesome.
They're building a lift park here right now. They're just starting their first lift park where it's like what they have at ski resorts. And you'll be able to just get shuttled up on this huge tram.
Yeah.
And it'll drop you off.
Bomb down. Just bomb down. Yeah. Well, dude, you're in a great spot, man. I mean, it's super, super excited. I mean, we've talked a few times. Scheduling was kind of an issue having you on, but I got to know you a little bit through those phone calls, and you were always busy. You're running crews, weather contingent on when you could get in and get out. I mean, you guys stay super organized to do all the things that you're doing. It's just been really cool just getting to know you, but also seeing you operate at such a high level, in your faith and in your work and your willingness to help others. I mean, that really is kind of snow leopardy. Like that's really, really rare, man. You just don't see that. I see a lot of, and you probably see them too, these entrepreneurs in our circle that are just all gung-ho, work all the time. And it comes to family, it comes to helping people. It's all just lip service to them. They don't have the time. They're not doing anything. Their families are wrecked. They've got whatever, financial is really a wreck. But to see somebody who's actually doing the stuff and putting the faith first and putting the work first, it's just refreshing, man. It challenges me to stay there and to lean back more into the, do the good work and then let the other stuff kind of settle itself out. So super refreshing to have you on, Brynn.
Yeah, this was really cool. This might be one of my favorite episodes because I was one, I didn't have like a lot of like legal consequences and all that kind of stuff. And so when y'all were talking about all these things and all your shared experiences, I'm just like soaking it all in and like learning so much about different experiences. And I love your faith, and I love how genuine it is. And I love that you are just so unashamed to share what Jesus Christ has done in your life, continues to do in your life. So thank you so, so, so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. And where can people reach you, JD?
Just if they want to reach out, just privately through Facebook, really. My business website is concretecreationsandexcavations.com. And we're building out a ministry called Kings Never Quit. That hasn't been launched yet, but it will, 110%. And it's going to be geared towards men. And then my wife has Heart and Fire Ministries that she actually just launched last week. That's geared towards women and just walking them through trauma from childhood into their identity for what Christ says that they are, not what happened.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead and line your wife up. Maybe in a month or so, have her on. We got some slots. We'd love to interview her as well, because she's just your doppelganger in the woman form, doing great work. So we'd love to have her on.
She is a beast, bro.
That'd be awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
JD.
she keeps me motivated. That's right there.
Yeah.
She will totally hijack somebody's spirit and just like speak life over people. And I love getting to be a part of it. She's awesome.
Nice. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good weekend and we'll see you later.
Wow.
Um,